Hey, everyone! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Have you ever looked at a simple 1977 1-cent coin from the United States and wondered if something so small, so ordinary, could actually carry a secret worth thousands of dollars? Today, we take a deep dive into a coin that might be sitting quietly in someone's collection, change jar, or perhaps even unknowingly resting in a pocket, the 1977 Lincoln cent, a coin whose historical relevance and rare error types have led some examples to reach staggering values of up to $1,000 or even more in niche coin markets, not because of gold or silver content, but due to their minting oddities, unique production flaws, and incredibly low surviving error populations that catch the keen eye of collectors and numismatists alike who are always seeking something beyond the surface. And it's this specific date, 1977, that has shown up at auctions and private sales with such intensity that it begs the question, what exactly makes this little copper piece worth so much more than its intended 1-cent face value? And why does it continue to spark interest almost 5 decades after it was minted? Because when we begin to look at the factors that contribute to its significant worth, we find that not all 1977 cents are created equal. Some carry double diverse errors, where doubling can be found on inscriptions like Liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust," leading to visual duplications that are easily noticeable to a trained eye, and these varieties are immensely sought after due to their visual impact and rarity. Others show repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark from the Denver Mint has been punched more than once slightly off from the original position, creating an unusual shadow effect that further drives up interest, and there are even examples of off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets among these coins, which all contribute to a highly diverse pool of rare 1977 error cents that cannot be ignored by those passionate about numismatics. And when we consider the historical context in which these coins were minted, during a period when copper prices were being closely monitored and the U.S. Mint was evaluating ways to reduce production costs by potentially shifting to different compositions, it gives even greater importance to copper-based coins like this one from 1977, which preceded the major compositional change that occurred in 1982, when cents were converted from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc formula to cut expenses, and thus, each coin from the pre-1982 era carries with it an intrinsic metal value that is already greater than 1 cent. But it's the presence of visible and dramatic errors that elevate the 1977 Lincoln cent into a whole different category of collectible. And when we look at auction records and reports from coin grading services such as PCGS and NGC, we find that coins with mint state conditions, MS65 and higher, with rare error types can fetch hundreds or even thousands depending on demand and visibility. And that's without even mentioning how coins with full red color designations, RD, which denote a bright red copper shine often seen right after minting, tend to attract even more aggressive bidding among collectors. And then we have the private sales that are sometimes not even recorded on major platforms, where dedicated collectors are willing to pay incredible premiums just to own specific error combinations or well-preserved examples with full steps on the Lincoln Memorial reverse and strong strikes on Lincoln's bust. And when we dive even deeper, we begin to uncover the nuances of specific known die varieties for the 1977 Lincoln cent, like the double die obverse known as DDO001, which exhibits strong doubling on the date and lettering. And even though these examples are few and far between, they are heavily chased after due to their distinguishable features and growing scarcity, as more are removed from circulation and enter long-term collections. And beyond just errors, the condition of the coin plays a pivotal role, where even minor differences in luster, surface quality, and strike sharpness can cause two otherwise identical coins to vary in value dramatically, and it's this precise obsession with quality, rarity, and uniqueness that fuels the higher valuation of select 1977 Lincoln cents and collectors who specialize in Lincoln series often seek to complete their collections by year, mint mark, and error types, which means competition for rare variants of this coin is often fierce, and prices climb quickly once a high-quality or unique error piece becomes available. And just as interesting is the fact that the Philadelphia Mint, where some of these coins were produced, did not use a mint mark in 1977, so unmarked coins are Philadelphia issues, and while the majority of standard circulation coins have minimal value, those that survived in exceptional condition or with standout errors can become worth exponentially more, and we cannot overlook the possibility of transitional errors as well, such as wrong planchet errors, where a coin is mistakenly struck on a foreign coin's blank or a different denomination's planchet, and though these are incredibly rare, a few have been reported from the late 70s, leading collectors to scrutinize their coins more closely in hopes of finding such anomalies, and in many cases, the only way to unlock a coin's true value is to have it professionally graded and authenticated, where the grade, error attribution, and official encapsulation can give buyers confidence and allow the coin to command its full market price, and many 1977 cents that have fetched for figures or more have passed through these grading channels, proving that sometimes the smallest details, such as a split serif on a letter or a shifted mint mark, can mean the difference between pocket change and a small fortune. And for those who've held onto these coins since receiving them in change decades ago, this revelation might come as a total surprise. But it also speaks to the mystery and excitement that coin collecting offers, where discoveries can happen any day, even with something as overlooked as a 1-cent coin from the 1970s, and with more people now paying attention to the condition and rarity of their older coins thanks to growing online communities, educational platforms, and auction visibility, the interest in coins like the 1977 Lincoln cent continues to rise, especially when the stories surrounding them are so compelling, their errors so intriguing, and their market values sometimes shockingly high. And it's not about chasing riches but rather understanding the historical, technical, and collectible importance of a piece of currency that was never meant to become so significant, and yet here we are, talking about a coin worth $0.01 on paper but potentially $1,000 or more in real-life transactions, because of how it was made, how it survived, and how it captured the interest of collectors worldwide who value rarity, precision, and the unexpected. And if you found any of this interesting, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more stories on rare coins, and share it with fellow collectors or anyone who might just have a hidden gem sitting quietly in their change jar, waiting to be discovered. Next, 1996 D Lincoln penny. Today we're uncovering the story of the 1996 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that might seem like just another copper-plated zinc cent at first glance, but has shocked collectors and numismatic experts alike with examples that have sold for as high as $9.76 due to a variety of striking and rare minting errors, overlooked mistakes, and peculiar anomalies that make these coins exceptionally sought after by serious enthusiasts and knowledgeable treasure hunters who understand the incredible value that can emerge from imperfections in the minting process, and we're going to explore all the fascinating aspects of what can go wrong during coin production, how those errors can manifest on a 1996 D penny, what types of specific mistakes give it this high value, and how you can identify, authenticate, and possibly find one in your pocket change, coin jar, or inherited coin collection, because understanding these errors is not only a way to discover a hidden gem in your possession, but also offers a captivating window into the intricacies of U.S. mint operations, technological slip-ups, die-wear patterns, planchet issues, and human oversight that all contribute to these unique pieces escaping quality control and entering circulation, often unnoticed for years, until a sharp-eyed numismatist or collector spots the telltale signs that make a coin rare. And the 1996 D penny stands out for several reasons, starting with the Denver Mint itself, which has been known to produce large quantities of coins annually, and due to this high production pressure, is statistically more likely to release coins with subtle to extreme defects that later become collectible anomalies. And while millions of 1996 D cents were minted and most are worth only face value, a tiny fraction emerged with critical flaws that defy normal expectations, such as double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die clashes, cuts, and striking errors related to planchet quality or improper metal flow, each of which can dramatically increase the value of the coin depending on its visibility, severity, and rarity, and beginning with the double die variety, which occurs when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, leading to noticeable doubling on key areas of the design like the date, mint mark, the letters in Liberty or In God We Trust, or the Lincoln Memorial details on the reverse. And while true double die obverse or reverses are rare for this year, there have been confirmed examples of light to moderate doubling that create clear notching effects visible under magnification and command prices from several $100s up to nearly $1,000 when in excellent uncirculated condition, or when certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC, especially when accompanied by a prominent shift in the secondary image. And then there are the striking off-center coins, which occur when the planchet is not properly aligned between the dies during the strike, leading to coins where a portion of the design is missing and the blank metal is exposed. And while minor off-center strikes are fairly common and usually bring only modest premiums, examples that are dramatically off-center, around 40 to 70% off, while still showing a full date and mint mark, are especially desirable and can exceed $300 or more depending on eye appeal. And next we have broad strikes, which happen when the coin is struck without a retaining collar, causing the metal to spread outward and lose its perfectly circular shape and often appear distorted or flattened around the edges without a rim. And when these errors happen on a coin with strong strike detail and minimal post-mint damage, they too become quite valuable, and collectors appreciate these dramatic-looking errors because they show the mechanics of how the minting process can go wrong in a visually striking way. And in the case of the 1996 D penny, several broad strike errors have sold at premium values. When combined with other minor anomalies like die rotation or partial brockages, and speaking of brockages, these occur when a previously struck coin fails to eject and becomes lodged in the press, acting as an impromptu die and transferring a mirrored image onto the next blank, and this results in one side of the coin having an incuse, reversed impression of the other side. And full brockages on Lincoln cents are quite rare and sell for hundreds, if not over $1,000 when found on modern dates. And then there are die cracks, die chips, and retained cuds, which all stem from deterioration or damage to the die used to strike coins, and these issues can range from small, barely noticeable breaks to large, dramatic cracks running across the coin, or even raised blobs of metal that intrude into the devices or fields of the coin. And a retained cut occurs when a piece of the die breaks off but remains partially intact, causing a raised area on the coin surface, often at the rim and spreading inward. And such errors, while not always highly valuable on their own, become significantly more desirable when large, well-defined, or located in unusual areas. And then we must also consider die clashes, which result from the obverse and reverse dies striking each other without a planchet in between, imprinting elements of one die onto the other, and leading to ghost-like images of reverse design elements appearing on the obverse side, or vice versa. And 1996 D cents with visible die clash marks across Lincoln's face, coat, or near the Lincoln Memorial columns on the reverse can fetch surprising amounts at auction, and the degree of value depends heavily on the clarity and uniqueness of the clash, with more dramatic examples drawing enthusiastic bidding. And other minting errors worth noting include struck-through errors, where a foreign object like grease, string, or wire interferes during the strike and leaves an impression on the coin surface. And when these errors occur on key design areas like Lincoln's face, or the central part of the reverse, they can dramatically affect the coin's appearance and are of great interest to collectors, especially if the shape of the object can be clearly identified, and struck through errors on 1996 D cents can be found with string-like impressions, missing details due to grease-filled dies, or foreign object indentations that give the coin a distinctive look. And then there's the rare but possible off-metal strike where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin blank, resulting in a coin that is underweight and shows design elements too large for its surface. And while these errors are exceedingly rare, they are worth significant sums when found and authenticated. And moving to the topic of transitional planchets. Although 1996 is well past the main transitional years of 1982, when the U.S. Mint switched from copper to zinc-based planchets, it's not impossible that an older planchet or foreign blank found its way into the coining press, which could lead to a heavier coin or one that rings differently when dropped. And such examples, especially when verified by metallurgical testing, can command very high prices. And some 1996 D cents have also been found with mintmark anomalies such as repunched mintmarks or mintmarks appearing doubled or tripled due to mechanical issues or misalignment during the punching process. And although the U.S. Mint began phasing out hand-punched mintmarks around this time, remnants of this practice still persisted, and collectors cherish examples with clear repunching or mintmark shifts that are visually obvious and easy to attribute. And beyond the errors, coins graded as MS67 or above by PCGS or NGC are also valuable simply due to their scarcity and pristine condition, with very few surviving without marks, wear, or toning after nearly 3 decades in circulation, and collectors of registry sets are willing to pay high premiums for high-grade examples even without errors. But when both condition and errors align, that's when prices like $976 or more are realized, and the provenance of these coins also matters, as pieces coming from reputable auctions, notable collections, or with strong photographic evidence of errors tend to draw more interest and trust in the market. And it's important to educate yourself on genuine versus post-mint damage, because many coins can appear odd due to environmental damage, corrosion, or alterations that do not add value, and studying auction records, error attribution guides. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny. Today we unravel every detail, anomaly, and mysterious imperfection that contributes to this small copper-coated zinc coin's meteoric rise in value and historical importance. And as we begin this journey into a story where history, minting science, and numismatic passion intersect, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more fascinating coin stories, and join us as we explore what makes the 1985 Lincoln penny not just a piece of change in your pocket, but potentially a piece of treasure in your collection. Starting with the basics of the coin's background, we must recall that the Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had undergone several transformations by the time 1985 came around. Most notably the material shift from primarily copper to a zinc core with a thin copper plating in 1982 due to rising copper prices, and by 1985 the United States Mint had mostly stabilized production using this copper-plated zinc composition, but this same change introduced a host of new problems and opportunities for errors during the minting process, some of which would go unnoticed until collectors discovered them years later and brought them to light through coin shows, auctions, and grading services, where a 1985 penny's seemingly insignificant minting defect could skyrocket its market value. Beginning with one of the most common and sought-after types of minting errors, the double die error, which occurs when the coin die used to strike the penny has an engraved image that was misaligned or impressed twice at slightly different angles, leading to a visual doubling of parts of the design, such as Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date, 1985, itself, And these double die errors are particularly valuable when the doubling is strong and easily visible without magnification. And in the case of some 1985 Lincoln cents, collectors have identified moderate to significant doubling on the date and lettering that meet these criteria, elevating the coin's value far beyond its face value. Another highly valued error type in the 1985 penny is the off-center strike, which results when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the dies, causing the design to be stamped off-center and resulting in a coin where a portion of the design is missing while the blank area reveals the planchet beneath. And such off-center strikes are especially valuable when a significant percentage of the design is missing but the date is still visible, ensuring that the error can be attributed to the correct year. And with 1985 pennies, off-center strikes of 50% or more are known to bring in several $100s depending on their overall appeal and rarity. Adding to that are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar in place, allowing the metal to spread out more than usual and create a broader, flatter coin that still displays a full design, but with distorted dimensions. And a broad-struck 1985 penny in mint condition with strong luster can easily sell for over $100 at auction due to its unusual appearance and error classification. Die cracks and die chips are another category of errors that can make a 1985 penny highly collectible, occurring when the minting dies develop cracks or pieces break off due to stress and fatigue from striking thousands of coins, resulting in raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the finished coin. And while these errors might seem minor, the placement and size of the die break can create striking and unique visual effects, such as the popular CUD error where a large chip on the rim creates a missing section of the design filled in with extra metal. And some 1985 pennies with dramatic die chips near Lincoln's eye or jawline or even near the date or mint mark have fetched impressive premiums, especially if the coin is in higher grades. And then there's the category of wrong planchet errors, which happen when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another denomination or even a foreign coin. And while exceedingly rare, a few documented examples exist where a 1985 penny was struck on a dime planchet, resulting in a smaller, silver-colored coin with incomplete design elements due to the planchet's smaller size. And such spectacular minting anomalies have been known to fetch prices well over $500 depending on condition and certification by trusted grading agencies like PCGS or NGC. In addition to these striking errors, the coin's condition plays a crucial role in its value, with coins graded mint state MS 65 or above commanding significantly higher prices than circulated examples. And in fact, a 1985 Lincoln penny with an error and a top-tier MS 67 grade could easily cross the $200 threshold, pushing into the realm of investment-grade numismatic material, especially when coupled with an eye-catching error like a dramatic die clash where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting parts of the reverse design onto the obverse die and vice versa, creating ghost-like impressions on the coin that appear as phantom outlines behind Lincoln's bust or beneath the Lincoln Memorial. And these die clash errors on 1985 pennies are particularly fascinating due to their eerie aesthetics and rarity. And even though many of these coins entered circulation without being noticed, sharp-eyed collectors have retrieved them from rolls, pocket change, and bank bags, giving rise to a new level of appreciation for a coin often overlooked as mundane. Furthermore, transitional errors, where a coin is struck using a design or composition not meant for that year, are another holy grail for collectors. And while there are no officially confirmed transitional planchet errors for 1985 pennies, rumors and anecdotes persist of copper planchets from earlier years being accidentally used in 1985 mint runs, which if authenticated could elevate a penny's value exponentially due to its hybrid composition and historical importance. And these alleged 1985 copper pennies, if weighing closer to 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for zinc pennies, would need to undergo metallurgical testing to confirm their composition and potentially break auction records due to their speculative rarity. Also adding a layer of intrigue are misaligned die strikes where one die, usually the hammer die, is not properly aligned with the other, causing the design to shift or display a shadow doubling that is not a true double die but still visually distinct. And such coins from 1985 with significant die misalignments have been documented and sold for up to $150 depending on clarity and preservation. And all these minting anomalies, from the subtle to the spectacular, converge to create a market for 1985 Lincoln cents that extends far beyond their initial purpose as currency, becoming instead artifacts of minting history and objects of passion and pursuit for collectors who scan rolls and collections for even the slightest variation or imperfection. And the role of third-party grading companies cannot be overstated in this landscape, as authentication and grading from PCGS, NGC, or Annex not only validate the error but often double or triple the market value of an already rare 1985 penny. And auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections regularly feature these error coins, where the stories behind each piece, how it was found, what kind of error it displays, how rare it is in its grade, add layers of appeal to bidders who are eager to own a slice of numismatic history. And among the most visually striking 1985 error coins is the struck-through variety, where foreign materials such as grease, wire, or cloth becomes lodged between the die and planchet during striking, leaving behind a textured or missing portion of the design that varies dramatically in shape and intensity. And these errors are not only extremely rare but each one is entirely unique, making them highly sought after by specialists, especially when the struck-through portion affects key design features like Lincoln's face, the motto, or the date. And while most struck-through errors sell in the $50 to $150 range, dramatic examples on pristine coins can command over $200. And as coin roll hunters continue to scour penny rolls from banks, estate sales, and coin shops, the odds of discovering a valuable 1985 penny remain a tantalizing possibility, especially when equipped with knowledge, patience. Next, 1984 Lincoln penny. Today we dive deep into a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but carries a remarkable story of rarity, error, and unexpected value. The 1984 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a piece of American history that in some special cases has fetched a jaw-dropping $343 or more due to its unique combination of minting errors, die varieties, striking mistakes, and collector demand. And as we peel back the layers of what makes this particular cent not just a piece of copper-plated zinc, but a highly sought after treasure in the numismatic community, we begin with a reminder that every coin has a journey, and some, like the 1984 penny, are born with imperfections that ironically transform them into valuable rarities. Now, while most 1984 cents were minted by the millions and have circulated heavily, becoming worn and common, there exists a class of these coins that stand out not for being flawless, but rather for containing dramatic errors or subtle yet crucial die varieties. One of the most famous among these is the 1984 doubled ear variety, an error that occurs due to a misalignment or repeated impression during the die-making process, which results in a clear doubling of Lincoln's earlobe on the obverse of the coin. This doubling is visible without magnification in many cases and adds significant value to the coin because it is a recognized and cataloged variety, listed in major coin reference guides and sought by collectors who specialize in die varieties. But the story of the 1984 penny's value does not stop at the doubled ear alone. There are also examples where these coins display off-center strikes, a situation where the coin blank is not properly seated in the collar at the time of striking, leading to a visibly shifted image that often includes a crescent-shaped blank area where the die didn't make contact. and when such off-center strikes are dramatic, more than 50% off, they can command large premiums, especially when the date is still visible, which maintains the ability to attribute the error to the specific year. In addition to off-center strikes, the 1984 cent is also known to have been found with broad strikes, where the collar die fails to hold the coin in place and allows the metal to expand outward, creating a larger and thinner coin than normal. And such minting anomalies are immediately identifiable and especially valuable when they occur on earlier date Lincoln cents like those from the 1980s. Another error that plays a crucial role in elevating the value of a 1984 penny is the presence of clipped planchets, which occurs when a portion of the metal blank is cut incorrectly, leading to curved or straight-edge clips where metal is visibly missing from the coin's circumference. And when such clips occur cleanly and show signs of pre-strike presence, like metal flow lines pointing inward or consistent design distortion at the clip, they are considered genuine mint errors and not post-mint damage, and thus gain significant collector interest and value. In addition to these striking errors, coins from 1984 have also been discovered with die cracks, cuts, and die chips, all of which stem from overuse or damage to the dies used to strike the coins. Die cracks appear as raised lines across the coin where the metal has flowed into fissures in the die. Cuts appear as raised blobs typically along the coin's rim due to a piece of the die breaking off and failing to strike part of the design. And die chips can appear in various parts of the design, most commonly around Lincoln's mouth, eyes, or the letters in Liberty and I in God We Trust. And while these errors are not always dramatically visible, in some instances they are quite large and obvious, drawing a premium for their visual appeal and the unique story they tell about the minting process. The value of a 1984 cent can be further enhanced when these errors are combined, such as a double ear variety that also has a die crack or a coin with a strong off-center strike and a clipped planchet, and collectors often pay higher prices for these combo errors, as they are rarer and present a more complete picture of minting anomalies. And while individual errors already add value, their cumulative presence on a single coin can multiply its worth significantly. Now the 1984 penny also falls into a transitional period in U.S. minting history, having been made from copper-plated zinc rather than the earlier solid bronze alloy used in pre-1982 cents, and this change brought new challenges for the mint, including issues with plating blisters, where the thin copper layer separates slightly from the zinc core causing bubbles or raised areas on the coin surface. These plating issues, while sometimes dismissed as damage, can be collectible when they occur in interesting patterns or affect large areas of the coin, and they contribute to the complex identity of 1984 cents as products of a relatively new minting technique still being refined. Another aspect to consider is the mint mark location and the presence of repunched mint marks or RPMs, which occur when the mint mark is punched into the die more than once in slightly different locations. And on 1984 cents this can manifest as a shadow or doubling effect on the D or S mint marks, making them desirable to error collectors. And although the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark in 1984, both Denver and San Francisco did, and coins from these mints should be examined closely for signs of RPMs or even more dramatic varieties like overpunched mint marks, which while rare, do occur and are highly sought after. Moreover, 1984 pennies found in uncirculated condition, especially with red luster and no signs of wear, already command a premium even without errors, but when an uncirculated example features one or more of the aforementioned errors or varieties, its value can jump significantly. And this is especially true for coins that have been professionally graded and authenticated by major third-party grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, as these certifications provide buyers with confidence and often drive up auction prices. And speaking of auctions, several examples of 1984 pennies with the doubled ear variety have sold for hundreds of dollars. some even reaching into the mid-three-figure range depending on condition and eye appeal, with a few commanding prices near or above $343. And this price point is not random, but based on actual sales data from reputable auction houses and online marketplaces where collectors bid competitively for these pieces. Another factor in driving up the price of these coins is their inclusion in registry sets, where collectors aim to assemble the highest quality or most complete sets of Lincoln cents and actively seek out key varieties and errors to fill challenging slots. And the 1984 doubled ear cent, for example, is often a required slot in such sets due to its prominence and recognition, thus increasing demand and driving prices higher. In addition, as public awareness of valuable error coins increases through social media, YouTube channels, and collector forums, more individuals are searching their change, coin rolls, and old collections for these rare examples, which increases interest and reduces supply on the market as valuable coins are removed from circulation, further boosting the price of known errors like those on the 1984 penny. And with many of these coins still hiding in drawers, jars, and old boxes, it's entirely possible that more high-value examples are waiting to be discovered, and the thrill of possibly finding a $343 penny in one's own home has captivated both seasoned collectors and curious newcomers, fueling a wave of excitement around coin hunting. But not all 1984 pennies will be worth big money, and it's crucial to understand that only those with genuine mint errors or in exceptional condition will command high prices, and education is key, knowing what to look for, such as the doubled ear, dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, large die cracks or cuds, RPMs, and other striking anomalies, can mean the difference between finding a true treasure and mistaking a damaged coin for something valuable. And while counterfeit errors are rare in low-value coins like cents, it's still important to verify unusual finds through trusted dealers or grading services, especially if you plan to sell or insure your collection. So whether you're new to the world of coin collecting or a seasoned expert, the 1984 penny offers a fascinating window into the minting process, human error, mechanical imperfection, and the strange way in which mistakes can create beauty, value, and history all wrapped into a tiny metal disc we often overlook. Next, 1989 1-cent USA coin. In today's deep dive, we will explore the incredibly interesting story behind the 1989 1-cent coin, a humble penny that has stirred the interest of collectors across the nation and beyond due to its remarkable errors, minting mistakes, and numismatic anomalies that have made specific examples of this coin worth as much as $333 or even more. And if you're someone who has a jar full of pennies lying around, or you're just beginning to explore the wonders of coin collecting, then sit tight. Because what might look like a simple 1989 Lincoln cent at first glance could actually be a highly sought-after rarity that hides major minting imperfections, making it a goldmine for collectors and historians alike. And this script will not only walk you through the intricate background of the coin's production, but also detail the precise errors and types of damage or variances that give these coins their tremendous value, along with real examples of how these coins are evaluated and sold in the coin collecting world. So let's begin with the basics and move deeper into the complexity of what makes the 1989 1-cent coin such a notable collectible in American numismatics, starting with the fact that the 1989 Lincoln cent was struck during a transitional era of U.S. coinage, following the change from copper to copper-plated zinc cents in 1982. And while the design of the coin may have appeared unchanged to the general public with its familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the composition, die-wear, and striking process were all subject to various changes and complications that introduced multiple potential error types into the minting process. And because the U.S. Mint produces billions of coins each year, quality control can sometimes allow certain flawed coins to escape into circulation. And such is the case with the 1989 penny, where a number of noticeable and identifiable mistakes emerged, leading to discovery of rare error types like off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, die clashes, struck through grease, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, and variations in mint mark placement or style, with collectors and grading services like PCGS and NGC taking note of these discrepancies, documenting them, and appraising them accordingly based on rarity, condition, and market demand. And when we talk about off-center strikes in the 1989 cent, we're referring to coins where the design elements are shifted to one side due to the blank not being properly centered during striking. And while minor off-center strikes are relatively common and only slightly interesting to seasoned collectors, those with 40%, 60%, or even 70% off-center impressions, especially if the full date is still visible, can command significant premiums. And when combined with high grades and lack of post-mint damage, these examples can easily reach and exceed $100, with some known to fetch prices around or even above the $333 mark in online auctions and private sales. And then there are the double die errors, perhaps one of the most popular and sought-after types of minting error among penny collectors, where duplication of certain design elements occurs due to misalignment in the die hubbing process. And though the 1989 cent does not have a widely publicized major double die obverse like the famous 1955 or 1969's counterparts, there are minor double die varieties that affect the date motto or Lincoln's profile, and some of these have been authenticated and given significant value based on eye appeal and scarcity, particularly when found in uncirculated condition. And speaking of condition, the grade of a coin plays a massive role in determining its final market value, with mint state grades such as MS65, MS67, or higher, especially those designated with red color designation, RD, commanding top dollar, and any 1989 penny error in such a state with clear eye visible mistakes can become a centerpiece of a collection. Then we come to broad strikes and die clashes, both fascinating and often dramatic in appearance, where broad strikes occur when a coin is struck outside the retaining collar, leading to a stretched or enlarged look without the defined rim, while die clashes are created when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like images of one side's design on the opposite side of the coin. And both of these error types are collected enthusiastically, with 1989 examples surfacing periodically and selling well over their face value depending on clarity and preservation. And then we delve into struck-through errors where debris, grease, or foreign objects on the die surface prevent full design transfer to the blank, leaving blank or faded areas on the coin surface that can resemble missing elements or distorted features. And such examples can be highly collectible if dramatic and identifiable, especially when certified. And it doesn't stop there, because clipped planchets are another anomaly in which the coin is missing a portion due to the metal sheet being misfed during blank cutting, resulting in crescent-shaped or straight-edged clips. And while such clips were more common in earlier years, 1989 cents with clean, natural clips and no post-mint damage can be desirable among specialists, sometimes fetching over $100. And let's not forget transitional errors and wrong planchet strikes, where coins are struck on planchets intended for other denominations or foreign currencies. And although no official U.S. Mint documentation exists for such 1989 cent errors, there have been authenticated cases of Lincoln cents from this era being struck on dime or foreign planchets, and when properly identified through weight and metal analysis, these rarities skyrocket in value, often being sold for hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the uniqueness and grade. And moving to mint mark anomalies, collectors have found significant interest in the styles and placements of the D mint mark on Denver-struck coins from 1989, with some examples showing repunched mint marks, RPMs, where a mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions, leading to shadow-like doubling, and these RPMs are minor but desirable errors that add collectible value to an otherwise ordinary cent, especially when graded and preserved. And considering all these error types and the potential combinations thereof, it's no wonder that select 1989 pennies have crossed the $333 threshold, particularly in high grades with dramatic and easily noticeable flaws, and with interest in error coins rising thanks to increased online education and growing communities of amateur and professional collectors. The value of such pieces continues to climb as demand outpaces supply. And auction records show steady appreciation in prices for visually striking and certified mint errors, especially when accompanied by detailed provenance and third-party authentication. And to make things even more exciting for collectors, the sheer volume of 1989 cents produced, more than 7 billion across all mints, means that there are still thousands, if not tens of thousands, of coins out there with hidden errors yet to be discovered, making coin roll hunting, estate sales, flea markets, and old coin jars potential treasure troves. And if you ever find a 1989 penny that looks even slightly off, whether the design is not centered, has blurry or doubled features, strange shapes, odd textures, missing details, or any other irregularity, it's worth getting a second opinion or submitting it to a reputable grading service, as it could very well be one of those rare errors that collectors are willing to pay a premium for. And the best part of this journey into the world of 1989 penny errors is that you don't need to be an expert to participate. Just curiosity, attention to detail, and patience are enough to make incredible discoveries that can lead to surprising profits or simply the joy of owning something historically unique. And for those interested in learning even more, the coin collecting world is filled with resources, from books and guides to online forums, YouTube channels, and social media groups where collectors share photos, ask for help identifying errors, and discuss recent sales and finds. And with that community-driven knowledge, even a beginner can quickly learn how to spot key features, understand grading systems, and build an eye for what makes a coin valuable. And if you're looking for the next big collectible or even just a fun and educational hobby that blends history, economics, art, and discovery. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny. Today we unravel every detail, anomaly, and mysterious imperfection that contributes to this small copper-coated zinc coin's meteoric rise in value and historical importance. And as we begin this journey into a story where history, minting science, and numismatic passion intersect, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more fascinating coin stories, and join us as we explore what makes the 1985 Lincoln penny not just a piece of change in your pocket, but potentially a piece of treasure in your collection. Starting with the basics of the coin's background, we must recall that the Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had undergone several transformations by the time 1985 came around. Most notably the material shift from primarily copper to a zinc core with a thin copper plating in 1982 due to rising copper prices, and by 1985 the United States Mint had mostly stabilized production using this copper-plated zinc composition, but this same change introduced a host of new problems and opportunities for errors during the minting process, some of which would go unnoticed until collectors discovered them years later and brought them to light through coin shows, auctions, and grading services, where a 1985 penny's seemingly insignificant minting defect could skyrocket its market value. Beginning with one of the most common and sought-after types of minting errors, the double die error, which occurs when the coin die used to strike the penny has an engraved image that was misaligned or impressed twice at slightly different angles, leading to a visual doubling of parts of the design, such as Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date, 1985, itself, And these double die errors are particularly valuable when the doubling is strong and easily visible without magnification. And in the case of some 1985 Lincoln cents, collectors have identified moderate to significant doubling on the date and lettering that meet these criteria, elevating the coin's value far beyond its face value. Another highly valued error type in the 1985 penny is the off-center strike, which results when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the dies, causing the design to be stamped off-center and resulting in a coin where a portion of the design is missing while the blank area reveals the planchet beneath. And such off-center strikes are especially valuable when a significant percentage of the design is missing but the date is still visible, ensuring that the error can be attributed to the correct year. And with 1985 pennies, off-center strikes of 50% or more are known to bring in several $100s depending on their overall appeal and rarity. Adding to that are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar in place, allowing the metal to spread out more than usual and create a broader, flatter coin that still displays a full design, but with distorted dimensions. And a broad-struck 1985 penny in mint condition with strong luster can easily sell for over $100 at auction due to its unusual appearance and error classification. Die cracks and die chips are another category of errors that can make a 1985 penny highly collectible, occurring when the minting dies develop cracks or pieces break off due to stress and fatigue from striking thousands of coins, resulting in raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the finished coin. And while these errors might seem minor, the placement and size of the die break can create striking and unique visual effects, such as the popular CUD error, where a large chip on the rim creates a missing section of the design filled in with extra metal. And some 1985 pennies with dramatic die chips near Lincoln's eye or jawline, or even near the date or mint mark, have fetched impressive premiums, especially if the coin is in higher grades. And then there's the category of wrong planchet errors, which happen when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another denomination or even a foreign coin. And while exceedingly rare, a few documented examples exist where a 1985 penny was struck on a dime planchet, resulting in a smaller, silver-colored coin with incomplete design elements due to the planchet's smaller size. And such spectacular minting anomalies have been known to fetch prices well over $500 depending on condition and certification by trusted grading agencies like PCGS or NGC. In addition to these striking errors, the coin's condition plays a crucial role in its value, with coins graded mint state, MS, 65 or above commanding significantly higher prices than circulated examples. And in fact, a 1985 Lincoln penny with an error and a top-tier MS 67 grade could easily cross the $200 threshold, pushing into the realm of investment-grade numismatic material, especially when coupled with an eye-catching error like a dramatic die clash where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting parts of the reverse design onto the obverse die and vice versa, creating ghost-like impressions on the coin that appear as phantom outlines behind Lincoln's bust or beneath the Lincoln Memorial. And these die clash errors on 1985 pennies are particularly fascinating due to their eerie aesthetics and rarity. And even though many of these coins entered circulation without being noticed, sharp-eyed collectors have retrieved them from rolls, pocket change, and bank bags, giving rise to a new level of appreciation for a coin often overlooked as mundane. Furthermore, transitional errors, where a coin is struck using a design or composition not meant for that year, are another holy grail for collectors. And while there are no officially confirmed transitional planchet errors for 1985 pennies, rumors and anecdotes persist of copper planchets from earlier years being accidentally used in 1985 mint runs, which if authenticated could elevate a penny's value exponentially due to its hybrid composition and historical importance. And these alleged 1985 copper pennies, if weighing closer to 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for zinc pennies, would need to undergo metallurgical testing to confirm their composition and potentially break auction records due to their speculative rarity. Also adding a layer of intrigue are misaligned die strikes where one die, usually the hammer die, is not properly aligned with the other, causing the design to shift or display a shadow doubling that is not a true double die but still visually distinct. And such coins from 1985 with significant die misalignments have been documented and sold for up to $150 depending on clarity and preservation. And all these minting anomalies, from the subtle to the spectacular, converge to create a market for 1985 Lincoln cents that extends far beyond their initial purpose as currency, becoming instead artifacts of minting history and objects of passion and pursuit for collectors who scan rolls and collections for even the slightest variation or imperfection. And the role of third-party grading companies cannot be overstated in this landscape, as authentication and grading from PCGS, NGC, or Annex not only validate the error but often double or triple the market value of an already rare 1985 penny. And auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections regularly feature these error coins, where the stories behind each piece, how it was found, what kind of error it displays, how rare it is in its grade, add layers of appeal to bidders who are eager to own a slice of numismatic history. And among the most visually striking 1985 error coins is the struck-through variety, where foreign material such as grease, wire, or cloth becomes lodged between the die and planchet during striking, leaving behind a textured or missing portion of the design that varies dramatically in shape and intensity. And these errors are not only extremely rare but each one is entirely unique, making them highly sought after by specialists, especially when the struck-through portion affects key design features like Lincoln's face, the motto, or the date. And while most struck-through errors sell in the $50 to $150 range, dramatic examples on pristine coins can command over $200. And as coin roll hunters continue to scour penny rolls from banks, estate sales, and coin shops, the odds of discovering a valuable 1985 penny remain a tantalizing possibility, especially when equipped with knowledge, patience, often overlooked yet brimming with stories of history, rarity, and unexpected fortune. And today we're diving into an extraordinary revelation about a coin you may have dismissed as ordinary pocket change, the 2011 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a small copper-plated zinc penny minted at the Denver Mint that, despite its humble face value of just 1 cent, has captivated the numismatic community due to several unusual errors and varieties that have caused select specimens to reach a collector's value of up to $23 or even more under the right circumstances. And what makes this discovery so astonishing is that this coin is still relatively modern, widely circulated, and still potentially resting unnoticed in everyday transactions, making it one of the more accessible error coins for new collectors and experienced numismatists alike who are eager to identify rare varieties that can be bought and sold at a premium. And before we delve into the specific errors and conditions that make this coin so valuable, it's important to understand that modern coins, like the 2011 D penny, are produced in such massive quantities that even the smallest slip in quality control during minting can result in striking anomalies that, when rare enough, are highly sought after by collectors. And the 2011 D penny had a mintage of over 2.5 billion coins, which on the surface may sound like it would eliminate the chance for rarity, but paradoxically, mass production is exactly what leads to opportunities for mistakes to slip through the cracks, especially when dies wear out or become misaligned during the high-speed coinage process. And in the case of the 2011 D penny, one of the key reasons it has reached up to $23 in value in certain cases is due to an array of reported errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, die clashes, misaligned dies, and plating blisters, all of which can dramatically increase a coin's desirability and market value depending on their severity and visibility. And perhaps one of the most fascinating and commonly reported errors is the double die, where the coin's design elements appear to be duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process. And while minor doubling might not add much value, strong and dramatic doubling, especially on the date, mint mark, or the letters in inscriptions such as Liberty or In God We Trust, can push the value of a 2011 D penny far beyond face value into the $10 to $23 range or more. And there have been specimens where collectors identified doubling on Lincoln's eye, earlobe, and the shield design on the reverse, especially in areas with strong light reflection where even subtle doubling becomes visible under magnification. And then there are the notorious off-center strike errors, another highly collectible anomaly where the coin is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. And depending on how off-center the strike is, particularly if the date is still visible, such coins can fetch significant premiums, often ranging from $10 to over $30, and more severe off-center errors where 50% or more of the design is missing can skyrocket in value depending on the market demand and visual appeal. And while less dramatic but still important are die cracks and die breaks, where the die itself develops fractures from overuse and stress, and these cracks translate directly onto the coin as raised lines or breaks in the metal, usually appearing along the lettering or the rim. And these die cracks are a clear indicator of minting flaws and are often collected in their own right as a part of the die state progression study. And in many 2011 D pennies, die cracks have been observed across Lincoln's shoulder, along the shield lines, or through the motto, creating intriguing patterns that are unique to each individual coin, almost like a fingerprint of the minting process. And these coins with strong and clear die cracks are often listed online for values well over their nominal worth, sometimes reaching or exceeding the $23 mark depending on their clarity and rarity. And another curious and visually striking error reported in the 2011 D Lincoln cents are die clashes, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet, blank coin, in between, causing parts of the reverse design to be imprinted faintly on the obverse die and vice versa. And when a new planchet is inserted and struck, these unintended impressions transfer onto the actual coin, resulting in ghostly, mirror-like images that can be detected by trained eyes or with the aid of a loupe. And collectors often hunt for such clashes, especially when they are visible to the naked eye, as they provide a glimpse into the violent and high-pressure environment inside the coin presses. And another issue stemming from the planchet itself is plating blisters or bubbles, a condition where the copper plating on the zinc core begins to separate or bubble due to poor adhesion or improper heating during production. And while these may initially look like post-mint damage, some examples are accepted as mint-made errors, especially when consistent and evident across multiple coins from the same batch. And these plating anomalies add to the visual uniqueness and can push values higher, particularly if they appear in interesting or dramatic formations, such as over Lincoln's face, along the date, or on the shield, making each coin a tiny artwork of minting mishap. And speaking of visual drama, some 2011 D cents have been reported with misaligned die strikes, where either the obverse or reverse die is not properly aligned vertically, causing one side of the coin to appear shifted or tilted relative to the rim. And no more subtle than off-center errors, these misalignments are still mint-made mistakes that have collector interest and can command higher prices when obvious and well-preserved. And an interesting subclass of errors involves coins that appear to be struck through foreign materials such as grease, cloth, or even fragments of previous coins, which cause part of the design to be missing or obscured. And while some of these errors can be mistaken for post-mint damage, authentic strike-through errors are verified by grading agencies and often given premium pricing, especially if the affected area is significant or contains recognizable shapes or textures. And in the case of the 2011 D penny, strike-throughs have been documented that obscure parts of the motto or the shield, creating ghost-like impressions that seem almost intentionally artistic. And it's important to consider the coin's overall condition or grade as well, because even a minor error on a coin in mint state, MS 65 or higher, can be worth significantly more than the same error on a heavily circulated coin, and collectors often pay a premium for coins that are both error-marked and in excellent condition, especially those graded and slabbed by major third-party graders like PCGS or NGC. And over the years, online auction platforms, coin shows, and collector forums have documented numerous sales of error 2011 D cents in the $10 to $23 range, and even higher in rare instances, especially when multiple errors are present on a single coin, such as a double die combined with a die crack or an off-center strike with a retained cud, a type of die break that results in extra metal on the coin's edge. And because of the massive production volume at the Denver Mint in 2011, it's plausible that thousands of minor errors went unnoticed, and only a fraction have been discovered and properly identified, which means there may be thousands more 2011 D pennies still hiding in drawers, coin jars, or bank rolls waiting to be uncovered by vigilant eyes. And this is where the real treasure hunt begins, because it invites everyday people to become amateur numismatists, inspecting their change not only for fun, but for the potential of discovery and profit. And what makes the 2011 D penny particularly exciting is that it is recent enough to still be commonly encountered, yet old enough for subtle mint errors to become better understood and appreciated within the community. And forums like CoinTalk, Reddit or /coins, and various YouTube channels have become hubs for sharing images, insights, and updates on new error finds. And some of the most interesting stories involve individuals who stumbled upon error coins by accident, thinking they were damaged or defective, only to later learn that their odd-looking penny was worth far more than face value.